Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. Happy 80th birthday today to Art Garfunkel of the legendary folk rock duo Simon Garfunkel. We spoke ahead of his 2017 concert at the Kennedy Center, breaking down his biggest hits from The Sound of Silence to The Boxer to Bridge Over Troubled Water.
Hello?
Hello, is this Mr. Garfunkel?
Yes, it is. How come you're so reticent?
Hey, this is Jason in WTOP in D.C. How are you?
I'm very pleased to talk to a man whose punctuality is perfect.
Wow, all right, I'll take that. That's a nice little compliment.
Here I am waiting, wondering, is this one of those A-plus guys who's right on the money? Yes, it is.
Well, hopefully you'll say the same at the end of the interview.
Well, who knows? I don't know how to do these things. Life is too fabulous. It's too wide. It's got too many parts. How can we talk about it?
Absolutely, but we're going to give it a shot to talk about it, all right, sir?
Okay, all right.
I guess let's just start off, what can we expect to hear? I know, obviously, we'll have, your solo hits, the Simon and Garfunkel classic stuff, but I also think I saw you're going to play some cuts from some of your favorite songwriters, the Randy Newmans, George Gershwins.
That's
Jim
right.
Yeah. Which of those songs are you going to be doing?
Well, if you're a singer, you can do anything, whatever matches your voice. I've been singing since I was 5. I was a crooner singing in the alleyway in Queens. I will do, I used to do Joe Beam. I don't do that now. I have 12 solo CDs. On the solo CDs, there's songs from all kinds of writers from the early 20th century. You hit some of the highlights that I'll be singing. I'll do half Simon and Garfunkel and half of those, whatever you call them, anything, any song that's great. There's a somebody I'm longing to see, George Gershwin. I'll put that in the set.
Awesome. Aren't you also going to give us a little bit of a teaser of your upcoming autobiography?
Well, yeah, I've been writing this thing, not knowing what I was doing, just following the pen to paper whenever inspiration would get me, and out would come these sort of prose poems. They would consume the week, and I realized I'm a bit of a writer, and I'll shop them around, see if I can get a publisher to agree. And yes, now a book of mine, My Life, is coming out in September of this year, and it has a lot of these little one-minute jobs, and I serve them up on stage, a few of them, between the songs. It works.
I like that. You get to hear a song, and then you get to hear a little bit of your roots in between. I really liked it. And it's called What Is It All But Luminous, right? So keep an eye out for that in September, folks.
What is it all but luminous?
Notes from an Underground Man. Speaking of these little autobiographical bits that we're going to hear, let's dive into that a little bit. Take us back to the very beginning in Queens. Tell me about your parents, Jack and Rose. What were they like? God, that just dawned on me. Those are the characters in Titanic. But they were your parents first, damn it. Jack and Rose.
Jack and Rose were a middle-class Jewish family whose parents came from Eastern Europe, but they grew up in America in the Lower East Side of New York. Dad was a traveling salesman. They were musical in an amateur way. We had a piano in the living room. Nobody was serious about trying to get on the charts, except me. And that was my Queens background. My friend Paul Simon was 3 blocks away, and that got us together.
That's awesome. Yeah, you mentioned that you were blocks away from Paul. Take our listeners, especially maybe some of our younger listeners that don't know about Tom and Jerry at the school dances. I know that you guys cross paths at some school plays, talent shows, that kind of thing. Explain the early days with the whole moniker Tom and Jerry and how you actually pivoted into forming the actual Simon and Garfunkel.
Well, I just left off saying I made this friend, Paul Simon. We were in the 6th grade. We were as old as my younger boy is now, little Bo. 11 years old, and we started singing, and we followed Alan Freed on the radio. He was showing this new subversive music called rock and roll, and we harmonized and wrote our tunes. And we started bringing our songs into New York City to the Brill Building. We signed a contract. They called us Tom and Jerry. We never could find a name. And we had a minor hit record called Hey Schoolgirl when we were high school seniors. This is very exciting stuff for a 16-year-old kid.
Absolutely.
Making a few $1,000s, going to college on that money it propelled you into grown-up life.
Absolutely. So you go to college on that, and I believe it's like right after college, you guys do your debut album, and then off of that, The Sound of Silence. Man, there's some really complex, mysterious, almost lyrics that are going on there. The people bowing and praying to the neon god they made, and that it's the words of the prophets that are written
Okay, so
on this.
before now you go any further, I must
Sure.
tell you, it's Paul Simon who wrote The Sound of Silence.
Sure.
This is a question for him and his writing process and exactly what he was getting at. I sing Paul's songs with my heart and soul and my interpretation. The Sound of Silence is very urban imagery that if you light on any particular specific line, it makes me want to defer to Paul for an explanation.
I gotcha. Well, tell me about then, well, on the flip side of that, then tell me about just singing it then and your memories of producing that on the production end then.
Well, it was one of the earliest songs that we showcased when we set ourselves for Columbia Records and did an audition at Studio A on 7th Avenue in New York back in 1964. There was Roy Halee, Halee, our studio engineer. We were meeting him for the first time, and we were to make all our records with him all through the years. He was so wonderful. We sang for Tom Wilson. He produced that demo session that got us onto Columbia Records, and we had 4 tunes. One of them was The Sound of Silence. This was the tune where Artie sang the lead vocal, "Hello, darkness, my old friend." I'm the tenor. I'm in front there. Paul's doing the supportive harmony. And what can I say about it? We liked it. When we were finished with those 4 tunes, we left the studio today hoping that Columbia would sign us, but feeling very good about our performance. Jason, what I remember most is Paul called me, and that night, "Artie, how come you're not the greatest singer?" How come you're not the greatest singer? That was his way of saying, you did good work today. I think we got signed to Columbia Records. This is Queen's slang, where in those days, you say things in reverse.
Hey, take it however it's phrased.
That's the sound of Paul and Arthur.
There it is right there. Oh, that's fantastic. Well, so you got signed. That's great. And then another one coming up soon after that, Scarborough Fair, off your Parsley, Sage, Rosemary, and Thyme album. My parents had that one, and I actually have the vinyl of it now. They passed that one down, so I listen to that one quite often. How did you,
Exciting.
From a production side, I always thought that one kind of had like a hypnotic, almost dream-like quality.
Yeah, it's very flowy. Flowy. It's a very organic, unforced musical attempt. You hop aboard and you ride it.
But go into sort of the musicality of how you create that dreamlike quality.
Well, it starts with Paul Simon, a very talented musical cat. The song he didn't write it. It's an old folk song. I wrote the counter melody that goes between the lines. It's an old English ballad. Its secret is in Paul's beautiful picking guitar. We recorded it at a studio in New York that took acoustic guitar sounds and really made it beautiful. Roy Halee made the most of that, those 6 strings of Paul's Martin guitar. And the naturalness and the ease and the rhythm of Paul's playing made the vocals so effortless. And the record was almost complete when you have 2 vocals and that wonderful guitar. But we added parts. You overdub. If you come to my concert, this is one of the bits I'm going to go into.
Oh, you're going to do it? All right.
I'm going to do the song that I wrote that is the counter melody between the lines of Scarborough Fair. So I'll get to that song. I'll explain it on stage.
Yeah, there was your teaser, folks, but if you want to get the whole story, you got to come out to the show. That's awesome.
Correct.
Obviously that one and Sound of Silence, we can't think of them without The Graduate, of course, because obviously you've had a long relationship with the late Mike Nichols, who directed that. Originally, wasn't it going to be Mrs. Roosevelt, and you had to change it at Nichols' request?
Well, yes, that's the story. We were new to Hollywood. We had just met Mike. He was looking for 4 songs. We never came up with anything except what was pre-existing, and Mike began to live with the songs we already had. And he started loving Sound of Silence and Scarborough Fair, so he got it down to 1. Can you give me 1 new song? And we struggled, and I said to Mike, Paul has a song he's been working on. This is the latest thing called Mrs. Roosevelt. Da 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 dee, Mrs. Roosevelt, Jesus loves you. Now Mike says the obvious. All these things look so obvious when it's after the fact, Jason.
Yeah, of course.
Mike says, you had a song called Mrs. Roosevelt, and you didn't think how obvious that would be for Mrs. Ron? And of course, we said, well, let's try it. And it worked fine, and it's just, there's your story. I think that Paul, as the writer, would probably say, no, we writers fool around. Whatever slots in with the right syllables. There's a lot of fooling around. Whatever works, that a writer uses.
Absolutely. Well, the thing, regardless of the lyrics, the part that I love, your guitar slows down as Dustin Hoffman's car runs out of gas. There's so many times where it's perfectly timed. Did you guys perform it that way, or was that Nichols' idea, or how did that actually work?
We worked a picture there in Hollywood on the big sound stage, a giant room with a huge screen that has your movie at the end. The picture dictated Paul's performance, and he's staring there with his neck craned up at the screen, getting exactly the rhythm we want to match picture. It's craftsmanship, it's musicianship.
Absolutely. And did you ever run into Dustin shortly after that? Tell us what they were
I ran into Dustin in an office building in the lobby in New York City. After that, I don't think we had met until then. We both shared that enormous success, but we never worked together. It's Mike Nichols who brought it all together. And I got a huge bear hug from Dustin, and that brilliant smile he has that's so incandescent. He was a doll.
You started doing a little acting for Nichols after that. Catch-22, Carnal Knowledge. I think you got a Golden Globe nomination for the latter. Take me into that transition. Did Mike, working with you, on the soundtrack, did he say, hey, you might have something here as an actor, or was that more your idea?
It was Mike's idea. I was not pursuing an acting career. After I did Catch-22 for Mike, a small role, I guess he felt Artie can do this stuff. And he had a Jules Feiffer script called Carnal Knowledge prepared, and it's all Mike being the protagonist and me responding.
Absolutely. I just have your music and movies sort of on the brain because I just saw that movie Baby Driver, which was the B-side to The Boxer.
What's it like? It has nothing to do with the Simon and Garfunkel song Baby Driver, does it?
He uses it in the soundtrack. The whole movie, we won't sidetrack too much, but the whole thing is about a getaway driver who has a ringing in his ears, so he has to wear iPod earbuds the whole time, and he creates little playlists.
And there's the movie soundtrack right there.
Yeah, it's like a wall-to-wall soundtrack, which I know you guys basically invented that back in the 60s, but Baby...
Now the whole movie is how's his musical taste. If he has Lay Down Sally, then it's a good movie.
You're going to have to check it out to see. I really enjoyed it. It's Edgar Wright. We interviewed him last week. But anyway, I bring up Baby Driver because a lot of people forget that it's the B-side of The Boxer. How did you come up with the Lie La Lie?
How did we come up with Lie La Lie? I don't know. Jason, that's the absence of a lyric. When you don't have a lyric, you sing La La Lie. Again, after the fact, these things look important.
Right.
Before the fact, they're things you stumble into and you're obliged to give an explanation to, and here I am obliged.
Speak to sort of how, when you're listening to that song, it almost paints a picture. You can, this is like, I don't know if it's Rocky Balboa or whatever, but you can picture that guy, that fighter, scrapping along.
Well, if you sing it well and effectively, you can really picture it. This is my job. This is my whole life. I know. I would say you'd be amazed how that song could fall flat if the singer didn't put some shine into it.
Well, you guys definitely made it shine. That's great. Well,
and so did Roy Halley. The Boxer is a terrific production. It feels like it's got $90 million of production in it. It's so worked on and fixed and polished and erased and redone, and it doesn't sound it, but it's a real labor of love.
Oh, that's so great. Well, we could go through so many of your other songs, but let's just maybe do one more. If we got to get you Bridge Over Troubled Water in closing, I think it's just one of the most beautiful songs about friendship, companionship, similar to like Carole King's You've Got a Friend or something. But
I agree. It's a great song.
I believe it was your last album with Paul, so ironically there was Troubled Water there for you. But take me sort of into the post-Paul Simon years. I know you guys reunited in 82 for that famous concert in Central Park and a subsequent tour, but how much contact have you guys had since then? Do you guys ever stay in contact, or is that just sort of, good memories from the past?
Wouldn't you like to know, Jason? Do you mind if I tease you a little bit?
Yeah, that was a nice cryptic.
I went under the belt there just for a moment. I'm sorry.
No, that was great.
Like seasons, we have warm periods, we have cool periods. It's still, we leave it alone. A friendship is fun when you're tickled by the same things in life, and then it's left alone when you're not.
There you go.
All.
Like the seasons, April comes you will. I love it. That's awesome. All right, well, final question. I heard a little interesting tidbit about you, that you're a bit of a bibliophile, if you will. You've read over 2,000, have kept like a list since the 68 of all the books you've read.
1,162.
I love it. Dude, I'm the same way with movies. You call out a year, I can tell you what came out. It's like a savant thing. Are you that way? Can you, if you say...
Yeah, it's our anal compulsive thing.
So wait, if I say a year, you can say the book that came out that year?
No, I don't do it that way. I just list them all, and I have them written down. I would go to my list.
Oh, that's great. Well, I know it's impossible to pick a favorite of all those, but is there one that comes in close to the ballpark?
Well, it's a question I've been asked many times, so I have my answer, and it's the true answer, so I'll go to it. War and Peace, Leo Tolstoy, pretty good book.
It just became a Broadway show. Yeah.
What a book. It deserves its fabulous reputation.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, hopefully somewhere on that list will be your autobiography when it comes out. Everybody go check it out.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Art Garfunkel on WTOP, everybody. Thank you so much, sir. This was great.
My pleasure. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for joining us on Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Remember to hit the subscribe button and give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time. I wanted to take a second to tell you about an app I really enjoy. Living in the DC area is great, and Podcast DC gathers all of the local shows that I like all in one local app. Health, sports, local news, politics, and so much more. Podcast DC is the new local app with hundreds of DC area podcasts to choose from. I can earn exciting rewards just for listening and share the podcasts I love instantly. Available in the App Store or in Google Play, listen local with Podcast DC.